after receiving repeated flashbangs in the face from Gypseros, a thorough, constant ass-whooping from Arkveld, and the chance to explore the training area in base camp, we've said our goodbyes to the second open beta for Monster Hunter Wilds. But have no fear, as of a week's time from the date of this recording, the game is due to release. No more betas, no more demos, the whole shebang. Having put out the All Weapons Master Guide, which is a fantastic place to start for new and returning players alike, I thought it would be really beneficial to go over the upcoming changes posted in the community update that was live streamed directly from Capcom, and they've summarized on one of their pages on the website, with the key changes being to performance, general gameplay, the insect glaive, lance, switch axe, sword and shield, and finally tweaks to bow and other weapons. Taking a look at performance to begin with, we can see that for both PS5 and Xbox Series X, that the two different modes for prioritized graphics and prioritized frame rate are both outputting at 4K. However, with prioritized graphics, the rendering resolution is close to 4K, with a target frame rate of 30 FPS, and with prioritized frame rate, the rendering resolutions are at 1080p, with a target frame rate of 60 FPS. Whilst I'm going to be on PC, I would personally use prioritized frame rate, as I feel that there's no level of graphical fidelity that trumps having target 60 FPS over 30. The difference is massive. If instead you're on Xbox Series X, you're going to have 1080p output resolution and rendering resolution at a target 30 FPS. There are Steam PC system requirements as well, which have been recently updated. You can take a look at the minimum required specs, the recommended specs, and also additional specs for a high setup, and finally for an ultra setup. The best thing that you can do is download the free benchmark tool available on Steam, run that with your current hardware setup, and see what it spits out for you. On to the general gameplay improvements next. A key piece of feedback from the community was around the hit-stop effects of the weapons. These are going to be adjusted to feel more weighty and impactful, with there being a particular focus on big moves and finishes. I know a lot of folks felt like the greatsword was like whipping around a wet noodle. Whilst I think that's a bit of an exaggeration, there's definitely room for all of the weapons to have a bit more crunch to them. There's going to be a further mitigation of friendly fire, which had already been mitigated for most weapon types in the open beta. However, the full version will also include mitigation of friendly fire for upswinging hammer attacks, and presumably any other upswinging attacks such as charge blade and axe form. In addition to this, the shockproof jewel from Rise will be making a return to fully nullify damage reactions on both sides. So no more flinching, presumably no more need for flinch free, and also no upswinging. So you are going to be able to have zero friendly fire in Wilds. Personally, I would have preferred if they kept the upswinging in but gave us a toggle, so we could decide if we opted in for the upswings or not. But also, I'm not fussed, it's not a huge deal to me. I think overall it caused more, oh, I can't use this attack now, kind of situations. Last but not least of the general gameplay changes, an adjustment to the frequency of monster area movement, thank goodness, targeting a similar moving frequency to that of Monster Hunter World. Also not forgetting that we'll have pop-up camps that we can fast travel in between. Onto the insect glaive weapon changes. Your beloved helicopter playstyle, the bouncing vaulting dance, is back, and not only that, but your aerial attack power increases by 2 levels each time you vault, making an aerial focused playstyle actually viable. The ground charged attack descending slash can now be used as an offset attack, giving the weapon some pretty tasty defensive capabilities, on top of its completely unique aerial mobility and evasion. Orange extract effect now also negates knockback while weapon is drawn, and the red white orange 1 2 3 take an arrow to the knee now also mitigates wind pressure, tremors and roars, making the triple buff even more powerful. Next up we have the lance changes, which are substantial. Having removed counter thrust for Wilds, they've now put it back in, and it's called charge counter, enabling you to guard whilst charging and can be chained into from any other move. Power guard will now charge to higher levels more quickly when used to successfully defend against more powerful monster attacks. I assume this is the stored up energy for payback thrust, or for this new big counter spiral thrust that they're showing off here that can be done after perfect guard and power guard. The new Omega counter looks really sick, not gonna lie, but at the same time I'm kind of bummed because beta lance was absolutely peak in my opinion, but the new stuff looks really cool as well, so we'll see. Onto the switch axe changes next, which many folks were reporting they felt was underperforming in the beta. Firstly, they've made various adjustments so that switching to sword mode after building using the axe mode gauge feels more satisfying. I take this to mean that it's more fluid and dynamic. Parameter improvements made to various moves, including full release slash. Whenever you see that verbiage, parameter improvements, that means a buff. So a bunch of the moves, including full release slash, are getting buffed, with the addition of knockback now being negated when using full release slash. A welcome set of changes and buffs to make the weapon overall feel nicer and bring it more in line with the others, and give the bite to full release slash that it really deserves. It's such a crunchy move, it should do a ton of damage. Onto the sword and shield changes, which are also fairly substantial. Rising slash can now be used whilst guarding, allowing you to go into a normal combo string from your guard. That's basically what that's doing, which is a pretty nice addition. Parameter improvements, there's that phrase again, to various attacks, especially normal attacks and perfect rush. So all of your side slashes and chops are going to be more powerful, and I'm very happy to hear perfect rush will pack more of a punch. Improved the responsiveness of the mobile chop and side slash combo, as well as guard slash and perfect rush. Now what I take that verbiage to mean is the execution is easier and or the feedback from the attacks is better. So there's more impact, you feel more of a crunch to it. And improved the evasion effectiveness of backstep and sliding swipe. So more iframes for them, fantastic. Overall, a brilliant set of improvements and buffs for the weapon, even though you can swap the final input for perfect rush with spinning reaper and charged chop. It still felt overall like it was underperforming, especially compared to World. Last but not least, we have a set of balance changes for the bow, both buffs and nerfs, but no fundamental mechanical changes. Increased attack power and responsiveness of moves such as normal attacks and arc shots, while toning down the power of tracer shots, which includes the overall attack power increase from them, I believe. A sorely needed nerf. When targeting a monster with focus strike, multiple wounds are now locked onto one by one with a brief delay in between, rather than all at once, which is nice because it's no longer going to be hogging all the wounds. Truth be told, a much needed set of rebalancing. The bow is way overtuned and OP. It definitely needed to be brought back into line with the others, but to be honest with you, with these changes, it's still going to be super crazy. And finally, for other weapons, the general wide-ranging adjustments to skills and elemental values to balance for the full game content, including endgame, as well as overall adjustments to hit detection and low damage output compared to past Monster Hunter titles. So just further balancing. All of the weapons are continuing to be fine-tuned, with the ones listed here receiving major changes and everything else being more in the background. Stuff like the hunting horn melodies losing some of their efficacy if you swap them out. I believe the charge blade has received some balance changes as well, so all of the weapons are receiving proper treatment. And those are the changes they covered during the community update livestream that we have to look forward to on release, many of them coming from the feedback of the first open beta, and of course probably primarily the actual gameplay data. I am super stoked, we've just got 1 week left. I've got all of my guides in place for you folks to hop in from day one. I'll be updating them of course with all of these weapon changes and rebalancing, with loads more Wilds content to come as well, so stay tuned. If you enjoy my Monster Hunter videos, you can subscribe for more, but just watching them is massive support as well. So until next time, a week's time, I'll see you in the Forbidden Lands.